Okay. Can you see the record button on, Lynn or Monica or somebody?
Yes, you're
okay.
on.
Thank you. So degenerative discs, and any disc issue most of the time occurs in men. You see a little bit, but women more will get after menopause, when they start to lose estrogen and they don't have the living foods to sustain their vertebrae, they will get more neck issues. They will get shrinking in their discs. They'll get curvature, but it's mainly with bulging disc or ruptured disc. It's more the male, and we'll get into that. Some of that is just their lifestyle working physically. But any degeneration it could be from a trauma, as we talked about earlier in our hour and a half together. But mainly malnutrition. And that's why when we look at this protocol, anyone at the age of 60 needs to either be on calcifood powder or syrofood powder. They have to get that bone flour into their system. So let's look at that first. So what I want to do is I'm going to read to you. And some of you asked for this article. If you don't have it, I'm happy to send it to you. So this was written by Dr. Lee early on after he started making this product. So calcifood contains everything to build bone because it is bone. Veal bone dehydrated, ball milled to a flour-like powder. When they are grinding this material up, it is so loud. If you're at standard process while they're doing it, they had to make a separate building. That's how loud it is. It's deafening to grind up the different components of bone, a rib, a spine, that when they do this. It's about half protein, half minerals. We at first think of bone as a material unfit for food. It's completely wrong, of course. Recalling bone handles on cutlery or cattle skulls lying in the desert, but fresh bone kept in deep freeze temperature until dehydrated is as wholesome as steak and as tasty. I agree. I love calcifood powder. Some people don't, and that's why when they made the tablets, they bound them with honey. So you can get not the tablets, the wafers. So you can get that. But I love the powder. It's a very pleasant taste. It's made from veal ribs, meat, marrow. There you go, Monica. One of your favorite substance on this planet, and all. And that's why we say the spine is in there. The spinal cord is in there. Think of all your MS people and calcifood. Just think about that. Think of if the spinal cord is still, if they still make it this way, which I believe they do, if it's in there, then you've got protomorphogen in that protein in that cord. That's mainly for MS people where you're going to get spinal cord protomorphogen. That's what they need. That's what's breaking down brain and spinal cord lesions for MS. Just as they come from the trimming table at the packing house. It is more perishable than meat, requiring storage temperature and not over 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Otherwise, mold, steaks, streak will appear that require its rejection and inspection. Remember, more perishable the food, the more vitamin content. Such a simple little saying, isn't it? The more perishable the food, the more vitamin content. The protein in bone is high in the amino acids that are commonly lost in cooking. Cooked food disease. All of what I reviewed last week and on Tuesday, all of these arthritises, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and bone degeneration are all part of this cooked food disease. The spines, the bones and spines of people before adulterated non-living foods, refined foods, did not exist and still don't in many cultures. Many people live out their life. Now, of course, people live longer than they did, but still is from cooked food. Tryptophan, just think, you wouldn't think of calcifood and think of, oh, will that help with sleep? Yes. Calcifood is pretty high in tryptophan. Protofood is my great love as far as tryptophan, but it's in calcifood. It's probably the most important in this group. In the test, feeding stopped dental caries in children. Tryptophan feeding stopped dental caries in children. Now you're getting, and this is, look at this is Corwell, sorry, dental research. Lost forever, this information, 1947. That this particular, you're always wondering, Joe, what causes dental caries? And if I say to them tryptophan lost, they're like, you're out of your mind. Here it is. They proved it. Not just for the pineal gland and sleep and the circadian balance, the quality of your teeth. It is interesting to note that tryptophan is commonly lost by cooking in contact with sugar. There you go. So that the addition of sugar or molasses, for instance, to baked beans destroys its nutritive value in this respect. Here's another amino acid that it's very high in calcifood, methionine. Most of us, either we don't remember, I've forgotten it before I read this, or we didn't even know about it. Methionine is a rare amino acid for which calcifood is a good source. There is good evidence to show that the methionine content of veal proteins may be to 20 times that of tissues of the 5-year-old animal. You know what methionine's good for? Now, this is debatable now, but high homocysteine levels in cardiovascular, right? Do you know what balances or lowers those high homocysteine levels? Methionine. Check it out. Read about it. 5 times more. Methionine is a detoxifying factor known to be important in eclampsia, shock, liver cirrhosis. Just think about, you're taking calcifood for these discs, or you're taking it for osteoporosis or osteopenia. Look at everything else that it's doing. Liver entrapment and liver necrosis. Liver enlargement. Again, how many people, we say choline for liver enlargement, but also this amino acid. It is truly amazing what Dr. Lee knew about what was in these foods and the implications and what they did. Calcifood is also a good source of lysine, the amino acid needed in the diet in the greatest amount. Lysine is a cereal protein in great measure destroyed by cooking. Lysine deficient human subjects results in fatigability and irritability. You'd never, if you study, you go on and read about lysine, it's never going to say this. Dr. Lee knew it, and he based his findings on studies at that time. The combined deficiency of lysine and tryptophan is one of the cause of corneal vascularization, simulating the riboflavin deficiency reaction. The eyes, everyone. Wow. Not affected by riboflavin treatment. Calcifood is a food product that may be used to advantage by all. In a shake with ice cream and milk, that's delicious to put it on your ice cream. If you're gonna take the plunge, now in my book, Monica's homemade ice cream is in there. That's her recipe. Add some calcifood to it. It's a very delicious and refreshing drink, or just as a snack. You're like, I want to get supplements into my kids. Give them ice cream and put some calcifood or syrup food in there. That's how you do it. Make them shakes. I did it all my children growing up. Every day they got a shake with this. For children, supplies bone building elements not available readily from other sources. For dental patient who has some degree of bone reabsorption in the tooth supporting tissues. Think of aging and, you know, all the surgery people have to have dental wise. Can this bring it back? A lot of you have been asking me, will it bring a joint back? Will it bring the bones back? Will it bring the teeth back? Yes. Consistently taking it over time. It is indispensable. Bone regeneration will commonly be evident by X-ray observation in a few weeks. That was what he found at that time. And I have this one story. I had a friend of mine, their children were out, and the one son was on a snowboard, broke his arm, his wrist. And so they flew back. I got him right on the calcifood. I think it was a powder. By the time he got back and was now remember, his bones were growing fast. So the calcifood just added to that tremendous infilling of those bones. They were home 3 days later, got it re-x-rayed. You could hardly see the break. 3 days. He says a few weeks. I say a few months. Loose teeth tend to become firmer. After using calcifood, dental patients wearing dentures usually find that their denture supporting tissues become more elastic and less irritable. Wheat germ oil pearls with the calcifood are reported to enhance this effect. Patients on this schedule are reported to have lost the arcus senilis in the eyes. So if you study iridology, that's if you look at a person's eyes and you see at the top of the eye, it starts turning white. That's hardening of the arteries. You can see it in the eyes. Bernard Jensen taught this to us all many years ago, and it's true. And he's saying because of the phosphorus in there, you're getting rid of that calcification reflected in the eyes. See Weekly November American Academy. You know, he's not just saying it, it was studied. It is probable that bone building calcifood, effective calcifood, is as much due to the amino acid pattern. Remember, half protein, half minerals. The amino acid pattern. That builds bone protein. Remember, bone is 1/3 discs. You know, we're talking about discs. The vertebral part of it is bone. It's cartilage, but mainly a good part of it is bone. Builds bone protein as it is in the calcium content. Calcium phosphate. Calcium phosphate is what the blood serum calcium needs to be converted into. Calcium carbonate will not build bone. It has to be converted. It's very difficult for the body to do that. And that's why you see so much of these issues. So many disc surgeries. I mean, they're rampant. The exception to calcifood is a source of calcium. Now he's talking about the calcium bicarbonate, is where alkaline calcium to form calcium bicarbonate, the ionized blood calcium desired. This is cases of acute infection. Now you don't need bone calcium right then. You need that blood calcium for the tissues, for the immune system, to awaken the immune system. That's why the body will rob the bones and convert that back into ionized blood calcium, because you've got to have it. You'll die without it. And for every temperature, for every degree of temperature in a fever, your body's white blood cells almost double. And because it's trying to kill the infection, but it needs calcium to ignite that phagocytic process, where the calcium is to aid vitamin C in controlling the infection agent in the stimulation of, here it is, phagocytosis. Isn't that a great article? So what I'm going to do with all of you is I'm going to put this together in the sequence that I'm teaching it. And if any of you want this, just say notes on degenerative disc. Okay, and I'll send this to you. I'll put this, I got it all. I'm just organizing myself as we go along. So let's look at the next product. Okay, so now we want to look at Ligaplex 1. Now remember, the calcifood would be 6 wafers twice a day with a degenerative discs. 6 a day will not, that's maintenance dose. If you've got a degenerative disc, knee or hip, you got to double up. You got to take a tablespoon twice a day, or 6 wafers is equivalent to 1 tablespoon twice a day for a while. If you think it's going to work with just taking a little bit of that powder, it's not, everyone. That's why, listen, this is my life experience. This is what I have found to work 90% of the time. Ligaplex 1. Okay, let's look at that. Let's look at this product. Well, what is this product? What's in it? It's a formulation, but what I want to show you first was Dr. Lee, if I can find it here, go to colon disc lesion. Okay, let's just take a second and just, this is Dr. Lee's old book. This is the one that I said you should have along with the product bulletins, is the Therapeutic Food Manual. Here it is. What did he say? What were his? Now remember, he didn't have Ligaplex 1. That came later. All right, there's your BIOS, he said, right? And that is good, but he's got calcifood. He doesn't have calcifood here, does he? No, he doesn't. But BIOS is good. That's got a lot of protomorphogen in it and some veal bone as well. Manganese is the, which I'll get into in a second. Manganese phytate B12. So remember that one, and pituitrophin. Okay. Now he like me, he didn't have the herbs to work with. He had secondary products as well. The one I want to point out to you is chlorophyll has vitamin E, and E, cataplex E. See it? He has it here. Because if you're going to repair a ligament or a disc, which ligaments are a big part of disc issues, you've got to have the right mineral, the vitamin that goes with that mineral, and the glandular that goes with that mineral. So the mineral is manganese, the vitamin is vitamin E, and the like gland, protomorphogen, is pituitrophin. All right. So let's look at the Ligaplex 1 now. So let's see what's in this. Okay. And this is out of the what is this product? What is this book called? Forgot.
CRG.
The Clinical Reference Guide. Thank you. Forgot it. Senior moment there. So let's look at when they decided to formulate this into a lot in one product. Look what they did. There's your manganese B12. There's your source of manganese. There's your Cataplex E, just as he had in the other, just as I have in this through this product. There's your Ostrophin. And he also put in a little bit of ACP for the C content and the P content. Why? The weaving of the collagen. Remember how important that is, that you've got to close the deal. And in any type of bone, ligament, you've got to have enough C. So you're tying that fabric together. There's a lot of fibrous content to discs. And without that, without being able to pull that together and hold it together, it is essentially the glue that holds proteins together. Is in the vitamin C and to some extent the P. And of course, vitamin A is always good. This is a great product. So there's your Ligaplex 1. Now, a lot of you would say, and I know it's a very popular product. Well, what about, why don't we just use Ligaplex 2? It's too watered down. Do you see this? It's a lot less of these other factors that we need. So yes, in an elderly person, maybe after you've used the Ligaplex 1, sure, as a maintenance, or glucosamine synergy that has the Boswellia and has the glucosamine for the glide in the joint or the vertebrae we're talking about now. Of course, glucosamine synergy is good, and it has Ligaplex 2 in there. But if you don't have the right clinical dose, you're not going to get the result. So let's, degenerative disc. Let's go to our next product here, sorry. Okay. So I just talked about that Cataplex C, right? That's the glue that when you're weaving that collagen that you need. So it's, I cannot say enough about, it seems simple. Ascorbic acid will not do it. So just remember that. Ascorbic acid will not play that role in the knitting of collagen together. It won't do it. And now go to cola. Now, I read about this to you last week, about its effect on collagen, in discs and vertebrae. There's collagen 1 and collagen 2. And so Gotu Kola is famous for keeping that collagen soft so it doesn't turn to scar tissue. It doesn't get hard and stiff. And it helps with that production. And I want to read you an article that is my favorite article on Gotu Kola that, in fact, Metier never had seen this article, if I can find it, of what else it does. So remember, when we're talking about discs, we're talking about other things too, other parts of the body. Gotu Kola grows in India, the islands of the Indian Ocean, and in some parts of Southern Africa, and is believed to contain remarkable rejuvenating properties, similar to those of Foti, Tang, and ginseng. The natives of India use the plant medicinally as a diuretic or a stimulant to the kidneys and bladder, as well as a blood purifier and alternative. Many years ago, a French physician residing in the island of Mauritius claimed that the herb had merit in the treatment of leprosy. Now, at the time of Jesus, that's what they used, was Gotu Kola. Because again, it has such an effect on collagen as far as repair and rejuvenation and maintenance. The following interesting article, okay, Gotu Kola was the name of this article, The Secret of Perpetual Youth. The power of staying young. A man's dream has always been to discover the secret of perpetual youth, and many men have devoted all their lives to this problem. We have heard of the Ponce de Leon, who sought the restoration of the youth from the waters of the Charm Fountain in Florida, the Kintan of the Chinese, the red elixir of Gerber, and the vital essence of Asperg. The Bolivian Indians made an elixir out of thornless cactus, gotu-kola, which it is said had the power of keeping young men right up to their deaths. While not so long ago, a Swiss named Spallinger claimed to have found a serum that prolonged life to 150 years. Instead of believing that the secret of perpetual youth could be thus obtained, they should have tracked an elephant in the woods. Why would you do that? Of Ceylon, and observed that the behemoth ate for its lunch. Elephants graze on gotu-kola, everyone, like cows graze on grass. 10 chances to go out with the great gotu-kola. Had they done this, the world would be growing this life-giving plant as commonly as lettuce. And there might not be on earth today anyone with a body that could truthfully be termed senile. Wow. Gotu-kola has every ancient history behind it. It was known to writers of India hundreds of years ago, always as a longevity plant. It is a small herb that creeps along the ground, having fan-shaped leaves of pale green color. The taste is slightly pungent, but eaten with rice and bread, it is delicious. It is claimed that this vegetable will increase the vitality of a 70 or 80-year-old to that of a 40-year-old. The leaves have a marked energizing effect on the cells of the brain and can preserve it indefinitely. The leaves are not a stimulant, but a brain food. A German scientist, Baron Grogan, tells us that the wild elephant in captivity at Denzifor was once rejuvenated and bore a calf after gotu-kola was sent in for the mix of her diet. A few of the leaves eaten raw every day will strengthen and revitalize worn-out bodies and brains to a remarkable degree and will prevent brain fog and nervous breakdown. In cases of mental trouble, blood pressure, abscesses, and rheumatisms, here it is, everyone. This is what we've been talking about the last 2 weeks. The efficacy of gotu-kola has been highly valued in elephant, bruises, swollen parts of rheumatic swelling. The oil of the herb or juice extracted from it will check fever associated with those afflictions. The powder of the herb taken by drying in the sun is sprinkled on ulcers with effective results. For mental weakness and memory improvement, the power of the leaves in small dosages is given. Now, I'm reading all of this to you. You can reread it because I just love this. You know, and I have told you my story with gotu-kola. I worked with the discs in my back while I had cancer, and I could not get that final. It was very weak. In fact, I felt, you know, as I said to you, that the cancer had gone into my bones. And when I got on that gotu-kola liquid, the calcifood and other things I was taking, it hit the mark. It finished the job of healing. Never had trouble since. To realize the truth of these assertions, it is only necessary to look back a few hundred years into the medical history of the East. 2 leaves a day will keep old age away. This is the claim made by Sinhalese for gotu-kola. This famous longevity plant, which grows profusely in Ceylon. In India, the leaves are extremely used by religious orders to develop spiritual power and to prolong the existence of the brain. So I'm not going to read that last paragraph, but that's why I call this, the gotu kola is the herb for the pineal gland. It's the herb for the brain. Now, you could say, well, you know, what about some of the others? Ginseng, yes. You know, some of the others, St. John's wort, of course. But this one, and so there is nothing more powerful to correct any degeneration anywhere in the body, but especially because the blood flow, even if a little nutrient gets in to a degenerative disc, knee or hip, a little bit, it will help in that restoration process over time. Now, I'm not going to go through these others unless you have questions about why. These are mainly to help with keeping the calcium levels up, pain, and inflammation. That's why the pan-immune enzymes. If you've ever had a degenerative disc, you know how painful it is. Let's take it. Go ahead.
If you would suggest like an herbal tonic with go-to, what would be the other two or one or?
Well, I make a tonic, which I call my brain blend out of gotu kola. It's in my book. The brain blend is gotu kola and
Bacopa.
Bacopa, very good. Who else? What's the other one, everybody? You know? That's great. And ginseng.
Ginkgo.
I'm sorry, ginkgo. Ginkgo. Yeah. So now you're getting circulation to the brain, you're getting healing to the brain, and you're getting the herbs, the plants on this planet that help with that cognitive function. Not so much the repair and maintenance of the brain, but cognitive function. Not so much if you use that with the gotu kola liquid, which is fine. And the tableted product, which I have here, you know, twice a day, has the grape seed in it, which is similar to the Cyruta Plus, more of this vitamin C factor and the repair of the microcirculation. That's what grape seed is for. It has the ginkgo and it has the gotu kola. So if they even didn't like that's a very bitter blend, by the way. If you don't like it, I take 3 tablespoons at least a week as a maintenance. I don't take it every day, but at least every other day. But 2 tablets twice a day. And eventually in time, even 1 tablet, you could go down. So, you could see, obviously, my lifestyle factors is obviously, there's always great conversation about whether you should use heat on these areas of the body when you're in a lot of pain and swelling, or cold, or both. So according to my research with people that have really used these natural remedies, I'll give you one example. It's Seventh-day Adventists. And I was great friends with a Seventh-day Adventist medical doctor. I used to go every Sunday, or not every Sunday, but 2 Sundays a month, or at least 1 Sunday a month, to his home and discuss Dr. Lee. He's the guy that I told you the story that stopped doing gallbladder surgeries after he learned about beta food. He didn't have to do gallbladder surgeries anymore. And eventually they forced him to retire because they made money taking all these gallbladders out. But when we discuss this area of the degenerative discs, they use cold and hot, 20 minutes off, 20 minutes on. So, of course, acupuncture. And Dr. Keim isn't on, but others of you acupuncturists on today. My daughter, I've been trying to get something for her to help her to relax as nurse that works nights. It's just terrible imbalance of the body. She finally went for acupuncture, and she said, Dad, it was incredible. I have never felt so relaxed in my life. So there you go. It was the right modality for her. She's not into the chiropractic as much. And of course, now Dr. Keppel and others teach cold laser therapy is terrific for these degenerative discs or bulging discs to reduce that, balance that tissue out, reduce the inflammation and the pain. There's something that I used in my torturous time with my low back, and that is the Trochanter Belt. Now they have the copper knee braces, and you can even get the copper to wrap around if you have a bad hip, which are very, very good for taking the pain and inflammation out. But the Trochanter Belt, you can just get them at Walgreens, or I think you can even get them at Safeway at their pharmacy or grocery store. And that just stabilizes that until you give the nutrients and the other things to do time to reestablish and reduce that inflammation and pain. Again, you know, I have a far infrared sauna. I do it once or twice a week. It's great for any inflammation and healing. Very different than a regular sauna. Goes deeper into those tissues. And there's a whole section about saunas in my book. And we'll look at that as we get into other protocols. And then topical application of Trameal. I don't know if you've ever used Trameal. Oh, ointment. I mean, on contact. So, and then of course, the great find, and I do in one of these sessions want to have someone from Beamer tell you about, now there's Biomat too, I want it to be fair, but Beamer is the one that I have and have used, and others have used it, which really increases microcirculation. And that's what you need. When you have a degenerative disc, when you have hip issues, knee issues, the circulation into that area it's really number one. You've got to increase that circulation. And so that's in this protocol as well. Now, just to finish, I want to just look briefly at the herniated or bulging disc. Now, I'm not going to review the supplements because they're very similar, but you see that now you've got something that is really critical. I mean, if you've herniated a disc, that's not repairable. So you want to catch it while it's bulging. Very similar lifestyle recommendations are recommended. But you notice, what do I have here is the number one, either Cyruta Plus or Cataplex C. There's your Ligaplex, Calcifood, Gotu-Kola, and that formula of the right vitamin, mineral, and like protein. And then your products for pain. Again, very similar protocol, right on the line that Dr. Lee said. And then, of course, always to increase that collagen is organic gelatin. This is from Dr. Bernard Jensen's company. Still exists today, a great gelatin product for everything, not just discs and collagen repair anywhere, your hair, skin, nails, everywhere. But I wanted to finish with let me just see. Yes. This now I'm going to give you all of this, but this was an article that Dr. Goodhart wrote years ago, and I wanted to just read you this one paragraph. A middle-aged, overweight male. This is relationship to manganese now, because remember, with these discs, with these issues, with any joint, hip, knee, disc, without manganese, you're not going to do it, everyone. It's not going to happen. So A middle-aged overweight male was referred to us for consultation and treatment by a DC doctor, doctor of chiropractic, who had done the best to relieve the unilateral sciatica and back pain of this patient. Examination revealed a plumb line alignment of the buttocks with a definite break to the right at the fourth lumbar segment. Very typical in men. Very typical. And that's where most men get it. As I say, women may get it, especially with sports injuries or work-related injuries or car accidents. But a lot of men get this in that low back. And I want to touch upon this after I get through reading this. Compensatory reverse scoliosis was present above in the dorsal spine with vertebral ligament of the head and sacrum. Pain was present, outstanding, disappearing after a few minutes of sitting, prone or supine, exaggerated by coughing or sneezing, and leg raising and heel dropped and toe. So he goes on to say he gave them manganese B12, which is, or what he used, or trace minerals B12 that had the manganese in it, and it corrected it. The other thing I wanted to mention here is a young male, 16 years of age, was next seen by us for a reoccurring sprain of the right ankle. Balancing of the pelvis was effective, but only reduced the frequency of the sprain for several times weekly to 2 or 3 times monthly. Recalling the veterinary problem of porosis in chickens, the so-called slip tendon disease of fowl, and the recovery gained by feeding manganese to the affected chickens. We gave trace organic minerals containing 140 milligrams of magnesium glycerophosphate 6 times a day. That was, everyone, that's a lot of manganese. That's a lot. And, you know, you're supposed to have what, no more than 50 milligrams a day. But of course, this was serious. A phenomenal recovery in the sprained ankle syndrome. No reoccurrence was presented itself now for over a year. Using this usual response as a guide, we began to use manganese, glycerophosphate, and trace minerals form routinely on all ligamentous cases that showed a lack of ligamentous tone, including discs. Now, this is from a great healer, a great teacher, a prince of a man. And he and Dr. Lee were very close. You know how many endocardiographs, if we equivalent to the HSR now, you know how many he had in his office? 6. 6. It was said, I never heard the full story, that they ran a graph on everyone that came into the office every time. So I don't know if that was true, but so let's.
Joseph, may I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, when you were saying you want to catch the disc while it's bulging before it herniates?
Yes.
Are you saying that once it's herniated, nutrition helps heal, but you have to, what do you have to do? Surgery?
Yeah, usually they have to go in and repair that. Yeah, they do. I'm not an authority on that. If there's any chiropractors on, they could speak to it. But I'm pretty sure that's pretty much on repair. I think they can, you know, it can scar over, but it's never the same. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately. So that's why you get someone with a bulging disc, please, chiropractic, acupuncture, and get them on these products. So I wanted to finish, just to put this up here. One of the things in which I've taught on my seminars, excuse me, is the Tibetan 5 rites. And this is the website, which is in my book, obviously. You know, this is the website you go to learn these 5 rites. a lot of what happens with low back, especially that L4, L5, these discs, when they go or they start to degenerate in anyone, male or female, no matter what age, is the loss of the energy field down there, which is known as the chakra field. This is typical mainly of men. And so these 5 rites open up those lower, all the chakras, but it includes the lower chakras, which men have a real block with. Not as much in women. Very interesting. Not that they wouldn't be blessed by it, but these exercise, doing these simple things. Now you're supposed to do 21 repetitions, 5 of the 5 different positions. But even if you did 7, I do it, at least 3 times a week to this day. And I only do 7 of each, and it just opens everything up. You should always start slowly anyway. But we can't just be throwing nutrition at these. We have to consider the energy field of opening up the nerve flow with the acupuncture and chiropractic to bring in our primary modality and then add the nutrition. But we got to give people things to do to help them to heal energetically. And these are tried and true, used for thousands of years. And there it is. The other piece of this that George Goodhart said, having read that article, it reminded me, I was in the room in New York in the 90s when he was teaching in New York. And he said, I've fixed more discs, especially though that L4, L5, those lower discs, by balancing the ileocecal valve than any other technique I've ever used. So you can work with that. I guess I did not put that on here. I should have. So make sure you write that in your notes when in your book now, ileocecal valve repair. I don't see it on here. Maybe I put it in the other one. But anyway, that is a precious pearl because a lot of times the nerves that go into those lower discs especially are the same nerves that go to the intestinal tract and that ileocecal valve area. And chiropractors know this. A lot of them do. Dr. Keppel teaches it. All of his information for his classes are in the appendix of my book as well. So,
Joseph,
yes.
That quotation by Dr. Goodhart about the ileocecal valve, you have it on page 239.
Oh,
yeah.
There it is. You guys know my book better than I. 239. Thank you. I'll include that. In what condition is it under?
Low back or neck pain syndromes.
Oh, okay. That's great. Thank you, Joanne. Wow. I can see you're reading my book.
You better believe.
Wow. Yes. Thank you. I'll include that also, that protocol, as I make up this little PDF for you all of these things that I've been referring to today. So any other questions on anything that I've discussed today or read?
Yeah. Hi, Joseph. You had mentioned that made the comment about Panammune and pain. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes. So Panammune is a product that focuses on trypsin and chymotrypsin. So now the principle of that I will go over with you when I consider my journey through cancer, because it's so crucial. So remember this, molecular rotation is in every cell of the body. Normal cells have a left-handed molecular rotation, okay? Abnormal cells, inflammatory cells, cancerous cells, fibrotic cells, any cell that is degenerating has a right-handed rotation. So trypsin and chymotrypsin, when taken on an empty stomach, remember, if you take it with food, it's going to digest the food, the proteins especially, in your digestive tract, because it's going to scavenger to the right-handed rotation. If you eat a steak, those molecular rotations are not the body. It will digest them. So you want to take the pan-immune on an empty stomach. So it will go in and scavenger and find these right-handed rotational moving cells, which are inflammatory cells. So pan-immune, as expensive as it is tremendous for any inflammation anywhere in the body, not just cancer, any, and especially pain. And now, what's that company out of Germany that they make a product that is trypsin and chymotrypsin, and it has other things in it? Does anyone remember?
I think it's
Wobenzyme.
Wobenzyme, yeah. Wobenzyme has made a fortune on trypsin and chymotrypsin for that very reason. And they mainly target the chiropractic and the pain profession. So that's their money. That's their core of money that they make. So trypsin and chymotrypsin were originally used for pain and inflammation. Now, unless you go way back to Dr. Beard in the 1900s, who used it to manage fast-growing cancer cells. So anyway, I hope that does that answer your question and explain it as best I can?
Yeah, I appreciate it very much. Thanks.
Okay. Now, as I say, it's an expensive product, but I tell you, when you're in a lot of pain with a herniated or bulging disc, you can't end up on opiates. You can't take all that aspirin. You can't take all that Tylenol. You're actually slowing down and limiting the healing process. You know, when you take these pain pills of any kind, you're slowing down. You are blocking the life force and the nerve supply and the communication. Remember, pain is telling the brain, hey, do something about this. If you block that, the brain doesn't know. It blocks the communication. And so very important to try to stay away from. I mean, if you need it, you need it. But, and believe me, having been through this, I can tell you, when you have bad discs, you're hurting. Or if you've had clients with it, and you see them stand up and they can't even stand up straight. They have that funny curve around their pelvis, as Dr. Goodhart was describing. Sciatic pain, too, caused by the pinching of the sciatic nerve. Right at that, I think that's at the L4, L5 junction, I believe. So, very difficult.
So in your opinion, then, is the Wobenzyme a better or more effective product than the Panimmune, or would you go with the Panimmune?
No, the problem with the Wobenzyme is you've got to use to get that effect of just 6 of the Panimmune are huge capsules. They're very hard for me to swallow, and to break them open and take them, it's a horrible taste. No, you'd have to take about 20, I think it's 26 a day of the Wobenzyme, because it doesn't have as much of the trypsin and chymotrypsin because they put other things in them, you know. So to answer your question, no, I would go with the Panimmune, because that's all you're getting is trypsin and chymotrypsin. No other synthetic vitamins in there. So, but
So you recommend?
I don't want to insult Wobenzyme in any way, because they've made a living selling that product. Yes, go ahead.
When you say 26 Wobenzyme, how many Panimmune would that equal?
About 6 a day. Not many.
Would you would you split those up or take them at once? Or
Right. Very
Yeah.
good. Thank you. So what you want to do is someone in that chronic pain syndrome, you want to give them 3 twice a day on an empty stomach. So for instance, you'd give them maybe 3 at 10 o'clock and 3 at 3 o'clock. Or you could do when they first get up. But if you're giving them other things, you know, you're giving them protomorphogens, you don't want to mix that because again, they'll just digest the protomorphogens. You don't want to involve the trypsin and chymotrypsin with anything else so that they can go right through the system into the bloodstream and get to those inflammatory cells. Yeah. So 3 twice a day, yep, on an empty stomach, which is 1 hour before a meal or 2 hours after. Now, what I do now every night before I go to bed, I take 6. The last thing I take, you know, right before I go to bed is 6 Panamune every night. You know, try every night. You always miss one night here and there, but
Joseph, people are asking where to get the Panamune.
It's in my book and it's under my cancer journey, the phone number. You can't email them. You have to establish an account and they check you out because the FDA is always trying to shut them down because it really does work for cancer big time. So, all right. But it just remember the principle I said of the molecular rotation. And that was Dr. Beard's hypothesis, which Dr. Kelly incorporated in his book, One Answer to Cancer, which you can still get online. It's a very expensive book, but you can get it. So we'll talk about that more when I talk about my journey. So we may have to break that up into 2, that would be a 2-hour session. Definitely, that will be just one session. So, well, thank you all. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Yes, it's been good 2.5 hours. Thanks for staying on and being patient with all our technical. Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes, go ahead.
Joseph, I've been on the phone. Could I have the password?
Oh, does I think Lynn and
changes every week.
No, they do not change every week. Everyone has received an email with the password for Tuesdays and the password for Thursdays. It should be in your inbox now.
Can you send that to this gentleman because he's on the phone? Can you get his email, Monica, and send it to him? Go ahead, sir.
NJ Healing Hands at AOL.
Did you get that, Monica? MJ Healing Hands?
NJ as in New Jersey?
Right.
Healing
New
Hands
Jersey, that's
AOL.
where I'm from. Okay, NJ,
Bill
got it.
Serino.
Yes. I've got it.
I didn't get the email, I don't think. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Well, I'm glad. I hope you all enjoyed this. I'd love sharing all this with you and great conversations. And we will talk again next Tuesday. And remember, I'm going to do the whole time on the HSR, but if you have a case, we can go into it and I'll use the book and we'll get into your case. So it stay on at, you know, after that 1.5 to 2 hour period. So
Joseph, so to be clear, we're doing HSR on Tuesday?
Yes.
And are we doing your book on Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
But you weren't on in the beginning, Monica, but after the book,
yeah,
you know, starting next week, if somebody wants to stay on and I can read a couple HSRs, I don't mind staying on 3 hours. It's up to, I know you all are busy, but I'm busy helping all of you. So I have the time, but so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Blessings
Thank you so
to you
much,
all.
Joseph.
I'll talk to you soon. You're very welcome.